Okay. My name is Simon Arnstein. I do e-commerce for one-on-one development. Tonight we're going to discuss platforms. When you're making your own e-commerce website, you need to create it usually on a platform. You guys went through already Amazon, eBay, all the other kind of stores. So now we're focusing on just the website itself. Just a quick overview. When we're talking introduction to platforms, how to choose a platform, different kinds of platforms. There are SaaS platforms, there are on-premises platforms. There's hosted, self-hosted. We're going to go through all this, barichas, but just a quick overview. And then if we have time at the end, we'll do a quick run-through of administration of a Magento website, a Magento backend. Anybody hear of Magento? No. Beginner's course, okay. And a Shopify backend. Basically two very, very popular platforms in e-commerce. We'll try to run through a quick administration of those platforms. Okay, so just to start with, when you're creating a website, it used to be in the 1800s or in the 1900s, whenever websites were first invented, that websites were just a bunch of static files. Basically, you had a developer make for you you had a designer first make a design of a website. Just design with like Photoshop or whatever design, even Paint. Like, I'm sure you guys heard of Microsoft Paint. Just take any Paint file, and they take that file and then they turn it into a website. That's how websites used to be made. Over the past 5-10 years, that process has pretty much been, it's still used somewhat, but it's really much more popular nowadays, something called a CMS, a content management system, where the person who administers the website, who runs the website, who owns the website, has the ability to completely control it with a software without knowing any coding. You don't have to be a PHP or an HTML programmer or a designer or anything. You could do everything. You could control almost everything about your website with zero programming, skills or knowledge. You just have to know. You just have to be somewhat computer literate and be able to, use a piece of software, and then you can basically manage a website like that without having to have a programmer do anything for you. Examples of popular CMS or content management systems nowadays are WordPress, you see it on the screen, Joomla, and Drupal. Those are three probably most popular just regular web publishing software. For example, everyone here heard of the YeshivaWorld.com, right? The Yeshiva World is a website. It's an informational website. It's not e-commerce, but it's a website. And it runs on WordPress. Basically, they have a whole back end. They don't have to have a program every single time. There's a news post, something about the Israeli army or whatever happens. They don't have to have a programmer going and designing the page and then taking a programmer to take that page that they designed and turning it into a web page. They have a system. They click a button, create new post. They type regular, with a keyboard. And they click publish post, and boom, it shows up on the website. That's how websites work nowadays. Nobody is sitting there with programmers and designers to do everything from scratch. The same thing. WordPress is not only used by famous news sites like Yeshiva World, also used by like CBS, NBC, like very big companies use CMS like WordPress. That is introduction to CMS. Does anybody want to see this in action? Like I can show you very quickly a quick run through of how this works in real life. Let's take a look at the screen. I have some demo stores up. This is a demo store that I use as a demo. It's a website. If you go to 101development.com right now from your smartphone, whatever, or your computer, and you just type in test 3, because I have a couple of these demos, you'll get to this website. It's a website. But this website it's built on WordPress, and since it's built on WordPress, it has a whole fancy backend for anybody who wants, who has the credentials to modify this website at will. So I'll show you just a quick thing so you get to understand what I mean. A quick run through of how to manage your WordPress site so you can see what I'm talking about. One second. Let's go to the dashboard. I save this as a bookmark so I can get to it quickly. Now, this is the front end right now. You see it's very, very simple design. It just has my logo on top. It's not even a logo, it's just a text logo. It has a menu. It says home, contact us, terms and conditions, test, whatever. That's just dummy data, dummy pages, just so you get an idea. Now, I can go to the back end and go to appearance, themes, and very quickly change the whole look of this website. 1, 2, 3. I'll show you one example. Let's go to this theme for a second. I'll click activate. Okay, and then I'm going to go F5 to reload this page. And boom, suddenly my website has a totally different feel. Okay, it's not completed, it's not finished. We have to do some work to it to make it look right, but you see how no programmer, all I do is click a button. Basically, there's a bunch of pre-installed themes in the back end, in the software, and I just clicked activate on a different design, and suddenly there's a different design over here.
So it's basically do-it-yourself.
It's do-it-yourself, exactly. Websites nowadays became do-it-yourself.
So WordPress is what? That's a program you have to buy? What is it exactly?
Okay, we'll get to that. WordPress is a software, it's a program, but it's actually open source, which we'll get to a little bit later. It's free. Anybody can download it whenever they want and install it on a server. You have to have a little bit of technical to actually install it. To run it, you don't need that much technical know-how. I mean, it's a little bit of a learning curve, obviously, to get used to it.
You get a website name, right?
Okay, you get a domain name, right?
Okay, then what?
Okay, then you have to get.
Unless you get into that, I just.
We could get. That's more of a developer. That question is more of a developer kind of question. I don't know if you guys can get into doing actual development kind of work, but.
But if you have a domain name, you basically link the software with the domain name.
Yes. Well, the first thing you really need to do is having domain name just says the old domain name does that. If you go to a certain domain name, it takes you to a certain IP address of a certain server somewhere. So the first thing you really need to do is get a server.
Right. How do you connect the two of them? Like you have the software and you have the website, right? You got one from GoDaddy or whatever it is, and now you have this WordPress software. Now you want to
connect
on your website, right? What do you do?
Okay, so you have to. So you get a server. You have to rent the server. I can show you some companies right now, just for a quick idea. You go to something called Bluehost. This is a cheap shared server company. Bluehost.com. Okay, $4.95 a month. You see? Get started now. You click that button there. You create an account. Usually it says $4.95 a month, but most hosting companies charge you by the year, by the month. But it's on a yearly basis. Like you can't just buy 1 month.
GoDaddy won't do this for you also?
GoDaddy does offer hosting and server space, but yeah, GoDaddy is not. They're not known for their quality in their hosting. Like I remember when they were down just a few months ago. It was a year ago already, and then recently another big one, HostGator, very big company, was down like a few weeks ago. And Bluehost is also. Bluehost is decent. I'll tell you, if you're really doing if you're doing just a little informational website, it doesn't have so much, it's not so much traffic. You're not getting so much, like, it's not like generating profit for you. It's just really just a business card. So then something like this is totally good. It's fine.
What about setting up links and PayPal, these kind of stuff?
If you want to get doing eCommerce and heavy and more heavier kind of websites and stuff like that, you're really going to want to get something called a VPS or a dedicated server. A VPS is a virtual private server, or a dedicated server, which is it's really its own computer that you have your. Basically, what these companies do, what Bluehost and these other companies do, they take a server computer and they fill up. Whoever creates an account with them, they fill up this computer with thousands of accounts. So you have 1,000 customers all using the same box. So it gets very clogged up and it's very slow and whatever. It's not just good performance. It's not just good quality, service. But if you get a VPS or a dedicated server, it's much better because then you have the whole box is yours. No one else is on this box. It's just virtual private servers. It's obviously more expensive. So you get a VPS for $30 a month. It's not so much more expensive. If you're doing heavy e-commerce, you want to get a dedicated server. You're probably spending more like $100 a month. And if your company as big as Amazon or Google, you have not just one server. You have load balancers. You have multiple servers all over the United States, and you can have something called CDNs, which is content delivery networks across the whole world. It gets very complicated, obviously, then. But if you have an e-commerce company, if you have an e-commerce store, and you're doing moderate sales, you're going to want to have a VPS or a dedicated server. You don't have to start out with that. You can start out with a small $5 a month server like this, but eventually you're going to want to get something better.
Once you have this, you want to transfer to a new company or a dedicated one.
You could transfer, yeah. Matter of fact, the new company will do it for you. Like you sign up with Bluehost, and after a month you say you don't like it, so you call the new company. They'll take care of the whole transfer for you. They'll get the login information from the original company. They'll take care of the whole transfer for you, and then call Bluehost, and you can cancel. They'll give you a refund of the whole plan that you got. So you just paid $5 for the first month, I think, and then you're good.
How do you connect this with the...
Oh, okay, so now once you have the server, so now you need to go into GoDaddy where you have the domain. You have to point the domain at GoDaddy to the server. So to the server's IP address. So let me show you, for example, here. I'll show you a site that I'm working on now. I'm actually going to have to open another tab for this. Just to get it. Okay, basically every website is really just a directory, a folder on a server, and the way to access that is from an IP address of the server. Every computer has an IP address. I'm not going to get into the IP addresses now, but basically there's a main address of the computer. That's not like yeshivaworld.com or google.com. That's not the address. The address is the IP address. That's the main address of the computer. I'm sorry? It's complicated because the computer has a MAC address, and then there's the router has an IP address. It's a combination of the computer and the router and the network and a whole bunch of other. I'm not so familiar with the network infrastructure, but it's part of the server network. So when you see every server has an IP address, and when you're getting a domain, let's say whatever Google.com, whatever your domain is, you're just pointing that domain. You're telling the domain to go to the IP address. It's very hard for everybody to remember a million IP addresses all day. If you're listening to the radio, they tell you go to geico.com or go to whatever.com. It's much easier to remember go to something.com. But how does going to a certain word.com know which computer in the world? There's millions of servers all over the world. How does it know where to take you? Because there's something called a domain registrar, like GoDaddy and Register.com, all these different domain registrars, that they keep a cheshbon of which domain name goes to which IP address, and then it's something called DNS, domain name service. That basically once you have a domain, you set up the domain to point to a certain IP address, and now the website, which is located at that IP address, will be displayed when you go to that domain.
You have multiple .coms going to
Correct.
one IP address.
Exactly. You could have 150 domain names going to the same IP address, going into the same website, and there's different ways of doing it. You could have it that it's forwarded. That, let's say 123.com gets forwarded to, let's say you have a website called abc.com, and you want to buy 100 domain names, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever it is, .com. They all forwarded to it. So when they get there in the browser, it still says abc.com. So the domain name stays the same.
How does it know to go to which .com in the IP address? Because you can have many different websites going to one IP address.
Okay.
How does it know to direct you to what you want?
Right. So if you have a dedicated server, it's very simple. There's only one website at this address. Because within the server, there's a configuration how to set up, depending on what kind of server you have. If it's a Linux, there's different kinds of servers. There's Linux servers, there's Windows servers, there's Java servers, different kinds of operating systems for servers. So every operating system has their own control systems, but basically there is a software within the server that tells the server which directory, which folder, this this website should go to. Just 1 second. Okay, so where were we up to? Connecting the two, right? So basically, you have a So again, you have a domain again, just to chazer over by GoDaddy, and you point it to a certain IP address, and then you have your website. Now you can access your website. So for getting back to WordPress, how do you do it? You go to WordPress.org, and you could download the latest version of WordPress, which is 3.8 right now, but it's constantly upgrading, and upgrades are free. WordPress is free. There's actually two. There's WordPress.com, WordPress.org. WordPress.com is a paid version, but the free version is WordPress.org, which is the most popular, which is what everyone uses. And you go to WordPress.org, you download the latest copy, you upload it to the server, you run through a quick installation process, and boom, your website is live. Matter of fact, most hosting companies like Bluehost, like we just mentioned, they have these scripts that you could just click a button and it does the whole installation for you. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to go to WordPress.org and download it. You log into you get an account with Bluehost, and then let's go back to Bluehost for a second. You get an account with Bluehost, and you go into the control panel. You click this 1-second installer, and boom, installed WordPress. Now you go to GoDaddy and you point the domain, and your website is live. You could create a website within 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes to create a website nowadays. Obviously, tweaking the website and just making a nice design. There are many free designs out there. You can buy designs that are premium designs for very cheap, $50 for a design. That's not a big deal. But if you want to have a custom design, that takes time. Obviously, if you want once you have a website, obviously you're going to want to have pages with content like about your business and different pictures and all that kind of stuff. So that might take you time, but everything else will be very quick.
Can you design it in the back end before you launch it to anyone to see?
Yeah, so what a lot of people do is that they just keep it on the IP address. Like right now I was showing you with this website over here. Here, you know what, let me show you another website I have that's actually under construction so you can get an idea. Taking no time. Okay, so you see that there's no domain name there. It doesn't say something.com. It says 67.227.244. This is the IP address. And somebody asked before about how does a server know which, if you have a lot of different websites on the same server, how do you know? So in Linux, you see there's a little slash with that symbol, I forgot what it's called at the moment, and then a name. Basically, in a Linux server, or most servers like this, the same one on your computer, I'll just show you quickly, you have like folders, right? Every computer has folders. You open your Windows computer and you go to your Microsoft Explorer, Windows Explorer, and these are all your folders on your computer where you keep your documents, your wedding invitations, whatever you have in there. Those are all broke. Usually you break it and you organize it with folders. So same thing with a server. A server is just a computer that serves websites, but it's also just a computer. And of course it has folders. And so when you set up your different websites, like what Bluehost does, for example, they have obviously, let's say 100 customers at least on the same server. So they usually use something called WHM. It's a server management kind of it's a server management software that manages the server, and it allows them to create different accounts on the server. And you just when you create a new account, so now at this name, for example, over here I called it Hartman. At the Hartman name, that's the name it's just the name of a folder on the server. That's what it does. Basically, when you create a new account within the server, it makes a new folder called Hartman, and if I navigate in my browser to the IP address plus these little characters plus Hartman, it takes me to this folder. And at this folder, I happen to have a whole website installed, so the website appears. So then that's how I'll work on the website. I'll work on the website without any domain name, just the IP address.
When you're all done, you'll hook it up to the...
When I am all done, how do you go live? You just point the domain to the, to this IP address, to this directory of the IP address,
So it gets renamed, or you don't see that in the.
You don't see that in the URL box, no.
URL box.
Right. Once you, so there's actually a place in the data, depending how your website is built, but once you go live, so you point the domain name to the website, and then you go into the database of the website, since a lot of websites have a database behind them because they're software.
You rename it.
And you rename it in the database, and now, boom, your website is live with the new name. So that's basically how you would set up a WordPress website. Again, you run the installation, you would install whatever theme, whatever design you want to install, and then you would you do whatever you have to do, and then point the domain and change the name in the database, and then your website is live and you're good to go.
Every product is a different page. I think it's a product that comes with information on the product. Is that like a new page?
It's a new page, but it's not really a new page. It's a good question. It used to be that when you made an e-commerce, we're going to get to that, but let me go back to my Seder Hayoim. Let's go down to the next step here. Okay, we'll do it over here quickly. It used to be that if you had an e-commerce website, you would have a designer design. You have 2,000 products. Designer designs 2,000 pages. Your programmer then goes and codes those pages in HTML, PHP, whatever language that they're coding in, all 2,000 pages, which takes forever and costs $1 million. But that's not done that way anymore. Nowadays, you have a software which has one-page template. There's only one file. It's called, let's say, productdetails.html or productdetails.php, and that's just one-page template. And then when as you create new products, the product information gets stored in the database. And when you visit that product page, you're seeing that same product details.php every single time. It's just what information is populating the page is being pulled from the database for that particular product. Every product gets an ID number usually, and then when you access that page, it pulls the information for that product, like the name, the pictures, the descriptions, whatever you have. Okay, so now that's a basic idea of so that's a basic idea of CMSs, of how websites used to be built with static files and how they're built nowadays with content management systems, like we just saw WordPress. You don't actually do the files every time you have a software that does it for you. Okay, now the same thing with e-commerce. E-commerce also has many platforms. You're not going to use. Some people do use WordPress for e-commerce. Actually, I've done it myself. There are certain plugins. I should mention that one of the big benefits of CMSs and platforms in general is that once you have a platform like WordPress, there are developers, a whole community of developers that are constantly making plugins for the platform. And those plugins really extend the functionality of the platform to be something that it wasn't originally intended to be, to make it much more powerful than it originally was. So originally WordPress was just a blogging software for blogs, like Yeshiva World in a way. It's a blog. It's a news website just making new posts all the time. Eventually WordPress became very popular for even just informational websites, not just blogs. And with plugins, you could do anything with WordPress. People have turned WordPress into e-commerce. There are plugins called WooCommerce, and there's Cart66, there's WP e-commerce. There's a lot of different e-commerce plugins that you can install into WordPress, and it'll turn your WordPress site from just a regular informational site, now it's suddenly an e-commerce site.
Why not go to a specialized e-commerce site?
What?
Why use plugins? Why not go to a specialized?
Right, why use plugins? Good question. Some people are so familiar with WordPress, they like WordPress. Some developers, if you're looking to make a website, you hire a developer. The developer might just want to use WordPress because they're so comfortable with it, they want to just use WordPress. And it just, there's a very big community. WordPress is the most popular publishing platform on the web altogether. Meaning, even though the web, you can't say the web is, I think it's 30% of all new websites are WordPress. That's the numbers. But from all platforms altogether, it's the most popular for sure. So yeah, I mean, why would you do it? It's a good question. In a way, it's very easy. Since WordPress is so easy, adding a plugin is very easy. But it's not so powerful. That's the drawback is that it's limited, and that's why you wouldn't that's why you wouldn't use it.
What's the code before the plugin would happen?
What do you mean? What's the chiluk?
I'm saying what makes it possible for e-commerce to match with what's in the Kudo.
You have to install the plugin, and before the plugin is installed, WordPress doesn't have any capability within itself to be e-commerce.
What, to pay for something and order something? What's the...
Yeah, I mean, what is e-commerce?
Right, so what's the problem with it, with the regular...
Well, because in e-commerce you need to have a catalog functionality, basically to easily, you know, create categories. Every e-commerce store has categories. You want to be able to shop through. You want to be able to like browse through your store easily. If I'm coming to a shoe store, I know I want a man size 5 running shoe or a sneaker or whatever. So you have a catalog. I'm going to go to men's and I'm going to go to running shoes or sneakers, whatever, and then I want to find it. So that's number one, is the catalog. And number two, obviously, is the add to cart, the whole shopping cart functionality. You click a button, add it to cart, and then check out. All that kind of functionality, that's all limited to e-commerce. That's nothing to do with regular informational or blogging websites. So without an e-commerce plugin, WordPress is useless for e-commerce. So and it's very easy. I mean, whatever. I can show you on the fly if you want to very quickly how we can take our website and make it into e-commerce website. Basically, this is our WordPress site. Let's see if I even have a plugin already. You go to plugins. They recently redid the whole WordPress dashboard. This is the WordPress dashboard. This is WordPress, like we just said. It's the most popular and famous publishing platform in the world. And basically, in your dashboard, you have posts, you have pages. That's the main things that you're going to have. That's the main places on your site where you publish content and posts and pages. And then you have in your plugins, let's see if we have an e-commerce plugin installed here. No, we don't. So let's quickly install one. Add new plugin. And you can search. There's a whole repository of WordPress plugins. On the WordPress servers, there's two ways to install a plugin. Either you could download it from a third-party website and then go into your file system of on your server and install it that way. You have to be a little bit more of an advanced user to do that. Or the simplest way is you could search the WordPress repository for plugins, and there's millions of plugins on there. I don't know if there's millions, but thousands for sure of plugins on the repository. So we're going to do e-commerce. You see I'm just doing a search here. Enter. And boom, a whole bunch of options come up for e-commerce. So WooCommerce, I think, is the best plugin for e-commerce if you're going to do that. So click on details. Let's see if this is interesting to me. Okay, I see it was downloaded 2,118,000 times. So right there, I see it's pretty popular. It was downloaded 2 million times. I'm going to do install now. And it should run an install process. It's taking a minute. It's called Woo, W-O-O Commerce. Yeah, funny name. You click Activate Plugin, and you'll see a bunch of new tabs are going to appear on the left side. Boom. Suddenly, now that we activated this plugin, a bunch of new stuff appeared over here. First of all, there's the WooCommerce dashboard. It's a little bit slow. Okay, this is our dashboard, and I have no orders yet, obviously. And then here's the WooCommerce products. Here's a product. I can just add a product and type in the name, obviously, and all that kind of stuff, and inventory, the SKU, the price, and what have you. And basically, suddenly my informational website turned into an e-commerce website because I installed this WooCommerce plugin.
This is all on WordPress? You're still on WordPress?
And this is WordPress, yeah. This black, thing on the side. They just changed it. It used to be WordPress used to be totally different. I can show you different backend, but just with 3.8, they changed a lot of the interface, like just the user experience, the colors and stuff like that. So that's WordPress. Okay. Now that's for CMSs, but that's for informational sites. For e-commerce, assuming that we're not going to go with WordPress, you want the real deal. You want fully functional e-commerce. So it's the same idea that instead you're not going to have a designer and a developer make it from scratch. You're going to go with a platform. Let's go back to our page here, and some of the platforms that we have are, let's say, Magento is the name of a platform. We'll get to this more barichas in a minute, but as far as platforms are concerned, there's Magento, there's Shopify, there's Volusion, there's BigCommerce, OS Commerce's plenty of platforms, no shortage of platforms for e-commerce, and those platforms are what WordPress is to Yeshiva World, to an informational blogging website. These e-commerce platforms are to an e-commerce store, and they're much more powerful. They have like reporting.
The other ones you spoke about, like Joomla and Drupal, the same thing as WordPress?
Yeah,
So
Joomla and Drupal are really for informational sites. Some people will take a Joomla site and also install a plugin and make it an e-commerce, but really Joomla and Drupal is all regular informational sites. And they happen to be, in a way, a little bit more powerful than WordPress. They're more complex. They could do more things, but they're more complicated to use and harder to use, and less people use them. Well, actually, no. Those are also open source. Drupal and Joomla are also open source, and anybody can download it for free, and you can use those. Okay.
They're just called for e-commerce and not for e-commerce categories.
Informational websites or e-commerce. I mean, this is pretty much you can break it down.
They're both CMS.
They're both. I was talking about CMS. They're both CMSs. Yeah. Well, usually people use CMS for informational websites, because the CMS really means content management system. And an informational website is the focus of the site is the content. It's just content. It's not like a store where you're buying something. It's just content. It's just like, about us, our product, what are not our products, our history, our contact us, whatever. It's just content, static content, not doing anything with it. So you use a content management system, a CMS. Whereas for e-commerce, it's usually called a platform. But it's in a way, it's really just an e-commerce CMS.
You can start off with a WordPress and then move over to
to an e-commerce CMS, to an e-commerce.
If you see that it's getting busy, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can create a WordPress e-commerce website. Like if you want to do e-commerce, you mean not informational.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Because if you don't know how much traffic you're getting because you're just starting off.
Right. You could install WordPress, install WooCommerce, let's say, and do your e-commerce like that. And if you see you're getting a lot of business, you want to move something better and fancier, then you could just knock that whole thing out. But it all goes in the garbage, obviously. If you're moving from WordPress to, let's say, Magento, I shouldn't say it's all going in the garbage, because there are companies nowadays that will help you transfer the data. But if you imported 1,000 products into your WordPress store, and then you decide a year from now that business is doing well and my WordPress is not performing how I want it to, and I want to go to Magento or a different platform, you have to transfer all that data over. It's not going to just magically come over there. It's a big pain in the neck. If you plan on going big time, it's not ideal to start with WordPress and move over. Depending on how it comes to MISO, depending how big what your plans are. If you're just trying a small product line, 5-10 products, you don't expect heavy traffic, then yeah, you could just deploy quickly with the WordPress e-commerce, then move over later.
And you need someone professional to help you with the Magento, or just as easy as you talking about?
Okay, so Magento.
What of that type? I'm saying general e-commerce.
Okay, so depending on how you go, we'll get to that in a minute. Depending on the different ways to go. Okay, so before we...
Are there any general numbers you could give, the amount of visitors WordPress could
handle?
Yeah.
It's not really WordPress itself, it's really the server. It's really your server resources, it's called. It's really your resources. WordPress is just a software that's installed on a computer. How many people can use my computer at the same time? And a regular Windows computer is not meant to be used by multiple at the same time, but how many programs can run on it at the same time? Depending how much RAM you have, how much, what your speed is, how much memory.
Is it the traffic that's causing it, or is the data that's on the website, or both?
It's more the traffic. Like what causes the site to get overwhelmed?
You have a blogging website with a lot of traffic, right?
Yeah.
Would you ever need to upgrade it, or just, let's say you have an e-commerce with a lot of data in it, but not too much traffic, right?
Is it a transaction?
Right. Yeah, no. So it's really the traffic that overwhelms it, not the data. I mean, yeah, the WordPress. Get your question? Yeah, it's really like you could load up your WordPress e-commerce store with 100,000 products. WordPress won't function so well with that many products. It's not going to function so well. That's the truth. WordPress is not meant for so many. It's not meant for such for real e-commerce like that. But as far as your question was that how many people could it handle?
I'm saying how you said if a guy is planning on doing something big, then you should use Magento straight.
Right.
So I want to know what's considered big. That's what I'm trying to figure out. What's
Right. What's considered big? I mean, how many? You know, how much traffic? I mean, how much traffic? It's hard to know. I mean, the difference really between WordPress and Magento is not so much the traffic. So that difference is really more on what you expect your store to do for you. In WordPress, your store is not going to have so many features. It's not that right. That question is like this: if the question is, WordPress cannot handle so many products, for example, like you were saying, it can't handle so many products. It doesn't have so much functionality in e-commerce. It doesn't have so much reporting. It doesn't have so much, depending on the plugin that you're going to install, obviously, in WordPress. Is it WP e-commerce? Is it WooCommerce? Whatever. But it's not going to have the functionality that you want. And even if it has the best functionality, it's just the database can't handle 100,000 products. It's going to overtax the database. So the question of which way to go is WordPress or Magento is the features you need and how many products you're going to have. Now, as far as traffic is concerned, if you're going to have a lot of traffic, then that really doesn't make a difference, WordPress or Magento. Like, both can handle a lot of traffic. Like I told you, there are huge companies.
World is used handling a lot of
Yeah. The traffic handling that doesn't make a difference on the platform. They're both very stable platforms. Like I said, who is it? CBS or NBC uses WordPress. There's a little trick I can show you guys if you guys are interested in platforms. If you want, now that you heard about platforms and you want to, you want to get familiar with platforms and see, which platform is being used by who. If you see in my browser over here, on the right side, there's this little icon there, the red icon. You see that? That is the Magento logo. That's the logo of Magento. How do I have that here? This store that you're looking at is obviously a Magento. It's a Magento store. Doesn't have any design. It comes. The store you're looking at is a default design, and we're obviously going to install a better design in the future. But so this is a Magento store. Now, if I go to, let's say, the YeshivaWorld.com, let's get rid of this ad over here. Wait till it finishes loading. Meanwhile, read about Apple's refunding. Okay, just taking a minute. Basically, I have this little app installed in my browser that tells me which platform any website it is built on that I visit. It's what the name of this app is. You should write this down. It's something that if you want to learn about platforms, just a fun thing to know. I found it very useful for me. It's called Wappalizer, and it's a Chrome. If you use Chrome, nowadays browsers have extensions. Basically, you can install a little piece of software into your browser, which extends the functionality of your browser. So a browser is like Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, Opera, Safari. These are all browsers. The most popular probably used is Internet Explorer, just because Microsoft dominates the PC world. But the most popular in people in professional users, or users that just have a little bit more know-how than the average person just bought the computer, are going to install Chrome or Firefox. Firefox is used a lot by developers, but Chrome is just a very good browser and has a lot of extensions. Let's talk about browser for a second. Anyway, so in a browser like Chrome, you can install extensions. So there's a whole bunch of different extensions that I have installed, but there's one called Wappalizer that tells you which platform any given website is built on. If the website is not built on any platform, it'll just say there's no platform. It's just static files, just HTML files and JavaScript files, whatever. But if it's a platform, it'll tell you. So go back to Yeshiva World for a second. I click on this little icon here, and okay, actually they hit it, so you can't see it right. You don't see over here where it says WordPress over here. But maybe if you open up one of the posts over here, you'll be able to see it. It's probably harder to hide it from the post. Let's wait till the post loads. You see when Yeshiva World, they installed so many different extra scripts and banners and who knows what on this website that takes a long time to load and everything like that. But right here you see it. I click on there, you see it says WordPress CMS blog right here. They have a lot of scripts running on this website. They have Google Analytics, obviously, that tells them about traffic. They have QuantCast Analytics. They have ComScore Analytics. They probably don't want you to know about all this little information. I don't know if they care, but if you install this browser app, you can see everything about what they have on there, what kind of software. Not everything, obviously, but you can see a lot of information about what they have installed on their website, what platform it's running on. So Yeshiva, we see here the little W. This is the WordPress logo. Just keep it. Just take a look at it and get familiar with it. That's a WordPress logo, and we see Yeshiva is built on WordPress. And this Magento story, right? This Magento logo is built on Magento. Okay. So back to what we were up to.
So Magento is more complicated to install.
Okay, yeah, so that, yeah, someone had a question like that. Magento is more complicated to install, and there are some hosting companies that have like the same one-click installer, that you just click a button and runs the whole installation process, installs the database, installs the files, and hooks them up. But a lot of hosts don't have that, and even once it's installed, just dealing with Magento is more complicated. It's a higher learning curve. It's just managing the store, even designing your store configuration. It's not so user-friendly as WordPress is. And it's just more complex. E-commerce is generally more complex. Informational website, you're just creating a page, creating a post, and you're done. Whereas in e-commerce, you're creating catalogs and attributes. It's much more. Okay, we should move forward with that. So coming into platforms, there's a little introduction you need to platforms. And that software in general have two ways of being installed and working on your computer. The original software model from when everyone started getting computers in their homes, I don't know, 1980s, whatever that was, is that you buy a software from a vendor and you install it on your computer. And now you have software running on your computer. For example, Microsoft Word is a piece of software. You download it from Microsoft and you install it on your computer. You pay for it usually, or it comes with your computer sometimes. And now you have it installed on your computer. That's called on-premises. Now, if Microsoft would go out of business, you still have the software on your computer. But then again, the downside is that you had to pay for it up front, and if Microsoft Office, which is usually the package that Word comes in, costs $300, you're going to have to pay for $300 up front. We'll get into a whole comparison later. But that's on-premises. Just to chazer over it, you download it, you install it, and it's here on your computer. There's another software model called SaaS. Everyone's familiar with both of these ways, just trying to break it down for you so you know what the difference is. So SaaS is software as a service, is you don't actually install anything on your computer. You access the software in a browser. And the software exists on the vendors' computers, or their servers, their server computers. An example of this would be Google Docs. I have open here a test Google. I'm sure you guys all heard of Google Docs. If you didn't, now you did. Google Docs is a free version of Microsoft Office. Google Docs is for Word. Google Calc is for like Excel. And Google Spreadsheets, I think they call it now. Calc is something else. That's OpenOffice. Google Spreadsheets, and they have this presentation I made over here is a Google presentation. It's like a PowerPoint, like Microsoft calls PowerPoint, they call it presentation. And basically, it's a whole bunch of software that you don't have to install on your computer. You just go to, very simple, you go to Google Drive, you go to drive.google.com, and now you could create any kind of document you want. You could create a document, a presentation, a spreadsheet, a form, a drawing, whatever you want to create that you would normally use on your computer with something installed on your computer.
You don't find Microsoft more effective and efficient?
Okay, so for sure Microsoft Word is going to have much more features than Google Docs is going to have. And then Microsoft Excel is sure going to have more features than Google Docs are going to have, Google Spreadsheets are going to have, for sure. But many times, the average document, depending on what you use documents for, but your average document, especially, is much more common in the workforce. Like, if you just have writing up a quick document and you want to send to somebody, or you want to have it quickly accessible anywhere, or even a spreadsheet, it's not the same idea with a spreadsheet, then you just create a document, you create a spreadsheet, and boom, it's there for you. And wherever you are, you go to a different computer, you still have the spreadsheet someplace else. So this is an example of a software as a service. It saves it on their servers. Nothing to do with your computer. Your computer could crash. If you watch this, if you go, it's like emails. Yeah, like Gmail saves on Gmail servers. So Google Drive is exactly, it's hooked up with your account. Like right now, if I go here and I type in, if I enter and I go, "Hi, how are you?" You see right there on top it says saving, and then all changes saved in Drive. It saves it instantly on top of the computer. I don't know if you see it right there. All changes saved in Drive. Next to the word help, yeah, on top of the page. It's very light colored. It's not there. It's not meant to like be in your face. It's just telling you that everything that you did was saved. So that's an example of SaaS, software as a service. You're not installing anything on your computer proper. You're installing. You're just accessing a third-party software that's offered by a vendor from their servers. Okay, so now that we have that introduction to different kinds of software, we can understand the same thing with e-commerce. In e-commerce, you have the same concept. You have self-hosted e-commerce, and you have hosted e-commerce. Now, basically, what that means is the self-hosted e-commerce is the same thing like installing Microsoft Word. You get a package of software from a vendor, whoever it is, and you install it on your computer or on your server computer. You're not going to install it on your regular laptop or regular computer in your house because you need people from the web to access it. So you install it on a server. But it's the same idea, whereas that you're taking like a package, you're taking a piece of software and you're installing it on a computer. And then the software runs on your computer. And just enough for me to understand, if that vendor who you got the software from goes out of business, you still have that software. It still works. It doesn't stop working. That's self-hosted e-commerce. Now, examples of that would be Magento. Magento is usually self-hosted. Magento also has a hosted version, I should mention, called Magento Go, but it's not so popular, and it's just be up to par with the other hosted platforms that are out there. They have something called Magento Go. Maybe people do use it a lot also, but Magento's claim to fame is their community edition, which is downloaded and installed on your own server. And again, other examples of self-hosted software are eCommerce, PrestaShop, OpenCart. These are all software that you could download and install. I'll just give you a quick example. Let's say you go to Magento.com. You see, if someone asked this before, it gets Magento.com, doesn't go to Magento.com. Wait a second for it to load. Actually, nowadays it does. They changed it a few months ago, at least. It was forwarded to MagentoCommerce.com. Now they masked it, that it's called, say, Magento.com. But anyways, you're in Magento.com. You go to products, and you go to open source, community edition, available downloads, and you download it right here. Version 1.81 is the latest version, and you can just click download, and it'll download to your computer. Once you have it on your computer, you can just upload it to your server, run through the...
They don't charge you for anything?
They don't charge you anything. Magento is free, it's open source. How do they make money? We'll get to that. But just in a nutshell, in case they don't get to it, they have paid versions also. And Magento has something called Magento Enterprise, which is like an enterprise version. The guys are running a very big store, very famous, very popular, successful store. You'll want to get their enterprise version, and the license for that is $25,000 a year, just for the license, just to be able to run the Magento Enterprise. But most people do not start with that, and you definitely do not need it. It's something
that you can upgrade straight. You don't have to reload.
Usually you can upgrade straight. Well, if you're getting an enterprise license, I think they help you with the installation and upgrade. Yeah. Don't bet on it, but I think they do.
Can you talk a little bit about servers? What does that mean? You take this up to server. What does that mean?
Meaning, so you went to Bluehost and you got your $5 or your $30 VPS plan. You log into your control panel. You go to your file directory, and you upload it. Like, when you...
Bluehost is a server?
Bluehost is a server company. They're a server provider. They have a lot of servers, and you open an account with them, they give you space on their servers. So you just upload this package to their server. And we mentioned before that some companies have like a quick install button. You click install, and it'll actually download it straight from Magento and pull it from Magento into the server. You don't have to do anything. But usually, if you're a developer, you're gonna download it from Magento and then upload it to your server. Okay, so that is self-hosted. Meaning you have your self-hosted means that it's on your server that you paid for. You rented the space on the server, and you installed it, and it's your achrayus. I mean, it's yours. You know, so nobody can take it away from you. Even if Magento goes out of business, you're still renting space by that server company, and Magento still works. So that's what I mean by self-hosted. Hosted is similar to what we had before Google Docs, or let's say I mentioned before QuickBooks Online. Everybody here, I'm sure, heard of QuickBooks. QuickBooks is like an accounting software. So it used to be till recently that you had to buy the software in Walmart, Target, whatever. You come home, take the CD, put it in your computer, install it, and now you have QuickBooks on your computer. More recently, they have a QuickBooks Online version. You don't go to Walmart. You just go to QuickBooksOnline.com or QuickBooks.com, and you set up an account, and now you have QuickBooks. You have QuickBooks in the cloud, basically. You just enter, you log in with your credentials, and you have all your accounting information in there in the cloud on their servers. And if your computer doesn't work and you go to a different computer, you still have it. But if their computers don't work, then you don't have anything. You lost everything. Just you understand the difference. Okay, so
Can you back up their stuff on a different server? You can't do that.
So it depends. If it's self-hosted, your host usually provides backups, automatic backups. That like you're constantly changing stuff on your website. So let's say you make a big change by mistake, you botch everything up. So you could roll back to, let's say, a day ago or a week ago. And say it's self-hosted, yeah. Because in self-hosted, usually your server provider is going to have something called backups automatically, configured automatically. Bluehost, I think, charges $12 a year. Every company is different, but
Well, the server is going to provide that.
right, the server company that you have is going to provide that as a service. Besides for renting you space, they also have a thing that they do backups for you. Is there a place I can get a drink over here outside, like a water fountain or something? Yeah.
You have a cup and you take them out.
Alright, let's try it.
Which one is preferred?
Which one?
What, as far as self-hosted and hosted?
Okay, so when we get to that, it's a whole Torah. Depends who you ask. Okay, so so that we covered self-hosted. That like Magento is self-hosted, eCommerce is self-hosted, PrestaShop, OpenCard. These are all self-hosted. Now for hosted, yeah.
QuickBooks compatible to online or the software you could use to want the next exchange information?
Could be they have some way to exchange information. Like
So you have your double coverage.
right, most people will never do that because it's crazy pain in the neck. Like you have considering you're a successful company, you have a lot of customers, accounts, and information in your QuickBooks, and you start keeping track. But it's nothing to worry about because if you have the QuickBooks, the local installed version, then I would be a little bit worried. I would try to get it backed up. You could even the QuickBooks, self-hosted version, the on-premises edition. You could Google Drive, Dropbox, Box.com. These are all different companies that offer backups. You can back up the files and then retrieve the backup. If let's say your computer crashes, you can always retrieve the backup and then install it on a different computer, and you won't lose any data. Okay, so with hosted is similar to Google Docs and QuickBooks Online, where you don't call a server company, you don't do any uploads, anything like that, no downloads, no uploads. You just go to their website and you start a subscription. Like the same with QuickBooks Online, they charge you whatever it is, $30 a month to have QuickBooks Online. So these e-commerce providers, the same thing. You just pay $30 a month, and now you have access to their software, and they allow you to basically create a store, create products, create categories, customize the design a little bit. Same story, just instead of it being on your own server, it's on their servers. That's the difference. Now the next thing, when we go through a quick run through of the difference between hosted, is the milas and chesronis of both.
Did you say any companies that are hosted? Platforms? Shopify?
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention it. I was on the page before. Yeah, so examples of hosted would be Shopify is up and coming. It's not up and coming. It's very successful, but it's a newer one. Volusion is one of the older ones that's very popular, very, very famous. It's hosted. There's no software to install or anything. You just create an account. BigCommerce is another hosted. Amazon has their own platform also, surprisingly so, that even if you're not selling on Amazon proper, you can create an account with Amazon. I think it's $40 a month, and use their software that they have to sell online without being on Amazon. Yeah, that's just some names of some some hosted platforms.
And is that easy to do yourself?
So some are easier than others. Shopify is very easy. You know, usually if you're somewhat computer literate, you know, if you can handle a computer, then they're pretty straightforward on what to do. And if not, sometimes there's a learning curve. Obviously, you're not going to just figure it out just by looking at it. Sometimes they have a whole community of they have a whole forum and the whole documentation. You read the documentation, and a lot of the hosted ones even offer support. That's another big mile of hosted. Not necessarily their support always that great, depending on which plan you have. Obviously, if you're paying a $30 a month plan, so obviously their support's not going to be so great. And they will question how do I create a product. They're going to tell you to look at the documentation to how to create a product. They're not going to, but there's a lot of documentation. You could just Google it. You know, how do I create a product in Shopify? And you'll find tons of pages how to do that. You can just read. Okay, click this button, add this information, click save, and that's how you create a product. So, you know, that's that. So.
They're linked to your server?
No, so if you're doing hosted, you don't have a server. You don't need a server. They have their own servers, yeah. Basically, when you create an account with them, they're just creating a new directory on their own servers. And their servers are very well maintained, obviously. They're doing this in a commercial way. So they have all the load balancers and content delivery networks and all these, multiple resources. It's not just one server. It's the whole redundancies that your store is very safe. Like, whereas if it's your own server, when your server goes down, let's say just 2 weeks ago, there was a company that I work with that hosts on HostGator, and HostGator was down. Now, I don't know if half the web, but probably 1% of the web. I don't know, 1% is a big number. But there are thousands and thousands and thousands of websites on HostGator. HostGator was down, boom, everyone's down. There's no web, you can't access the websites. I mentioned before, I remember like a year ago probably was, GoDaddy's domain name servers were down. Forget it, like half the web was down. So, I mean, GoDaddy is a very big company, so if that goes down, then really, if that could go down, then anybody could go down. But the Mila of, the company like the one Mila, one of the Milas of a hosted platform is that they're usually very reliable. Their servers are very, very reliable. It's not your achrais. Whereas if you're getting your own Magento website and putting it on a server, at the end of the day, it's your headache to make sure that your server is up and running. And if your provider goes down, then you're down. If there's an issue, but if it's hosted, then they have it taken care of. So here's a little chart about the miles and chesroinus of the different platforms. Okay, so the first thing is cost. With a hosted platform, there's not necessarily any upfront cost. All you need to do is create an account, you sign up, you pay, enter your credit card, enter your information, and you pay the monthly fee. If you're a small user, it's $30, $15, depending on how much it is. And if you're a big user, it's like, let's say, $150 a month. That's a big user. We could go to Shopify website for a second just to see what they're charging nowadays. If you go to pricing, you'll see Shopify's biggest plan is $179 a month. Okay, that's money, but basically there's no upfront fee. You just create an account, and you enter your credit card. Every month they charge you a card, and that's all you pay for your website. That sounds great, especially if you're starting small, a $30 a month plan. Whereas in a self-hosted, it's usually much more expensive. Why? Because usually the software that you're having that you're self-hosting is a more complicated, more complex software. You're usually not going to be doing it yourself. You could do Magento yourself, but many people wouldn't do Magento themselves. They would just hire a developer, an agency to do it for them. And if you would do it yourself, there's hosting costs. Considering you're doing Magento eCommerce, you're not going to get a $5 a month Bluehost plan. You'll have very poor performance. You're going to be getting a VPS or a dedicated service. Also, right there is the same $30 a month. And then the design on a Magento store is much more complicated than a design on a Shopify store. Shopify store has a lot of a very simple, very very nice designs, templates that are right when you create your store. They're right there. You just click install or click activate, and boom, they're like we showed in WordPress. You can activate a design very easily. With Magento, to install a new design, first of all, the free designs that are out there are not so great. Magento, to find a good free design is not so easy. And then even a paid design, which is, it's not so much money. So let's say a paid template is $80. It's not a lot of money. But if you to install that paid template and configure everything, now already you're getting into territory that you most probably want a developer. If you're very computer savvy and you're good with Google, you can figure out anything in the world. But most of the time, you're going to want to get a developer. So basically, cost is a big difference. Just to keep it simple, if it's hosted, the upfront cost, I should say, not the cost, the upfront cost is very minimal. It's $30 a month. You stop after 6 months, all you paid was $180. Whereas if it's self-hosted, like you're installing a software on a server, so there you're going to hire an agency going to cost you $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 to make a website, and that's an upfront cost. Now, obviously, keep in mind that if you're end up being if you're creating a website to be successful, not just to stop, to just for fun. And if you are successful, and your store is bringing you traffic, you want to keep your store up and running for a long time. So let's say you keep your store running for 5 years, and you need the premium plan because the features that you need only come with the premium plan. It's $180 a month now, times 60 months. Do the math, whatever. There goes your savings. So you thought you were saving money because you're only paying $30 a month at the beginning, but now you're stuck on this Shopify platform, and you can't. It's a big pain in the neck. So once you start a store anywhere, it's a major pain in the neck to transfer. You could transfer depending on how complicated your store is. How many products you have 100 products, obviously it's easier than if you have 1,000 products. But you're not locked in. You could cancel any time, but if you want to get more features and functionality that you're going to have in a different store, you're going to have to transfer. So again, the upfront costs on a hosted are very minimal, whereas in the self-hosted are higher. That's that. And that leads us into the next thing, is the features, flexibility, and customization. On a hosted platform like Shopify or some other ones we mentioned, Volusion or BigCommerce, they're a vendor that created a software, and they provide it to you. You pay them a monthly fee. You want to customize it. There are some third-party apps you can integrate. They have like an app store. You can buy this app that will allow you to integrate with this software, to integrate with QuickBooks, integrate with, if you want to add a gateway, whatever it is you want to add. So there are apps out there that you can install even within the host. You could get apps. You could get like plugins, like we have with WordPress. Same idea. There are some free plugins also, but if you want your store to do some complicated functionality, you want that when users come to a certain page, like this thing jumps out at them, and that thing happens when they add something to the cart. It's not an informational website. It's not just about us. It's functionality. It's a store. And people are buying products. So if you want any complicated functionality that this platform doesn't have, you're stuck. Goodbye. Nothing you can do. Whereas if it's in that's the hosted way. But if it's self-hosted and it's a package of files, you can do whatever you want. Again, any developer who knows your kind of platform could just go in there to the files, type up some new PHP code, new PHP or whatever it's written in new HTML, whatever it is, and boom, your new functionality will work. So you're not stuck.
You can do custom-made stuff in Magento?
Yes, you could do anything custom.
It's very flexible.
It's flexible, scalable, yeah. You can add modules, you can add extensions. Yeah, if you have a developer, first of all, that's another thing.
Why would why would it be that way? Why can't they make the hosted one as flexible as the?
Because you have to keep in mind, since they're responsible for it, they created a software, they keep it on their servers. All you're doing is you're creating an account within their software.
I mean, they have to keep their software so.
Yeah, they can't give you any access to the code. You mess up the code, all of a sudden 100,000 websites went down.
I think with that flexibility, you're doing yourself. No, they
now
send it into their software.
Which one, Magento?
Let's say a self-hosted
and
software.
the self-hosted
You're
software.
not a developer. You're not changing the code of what you bought, right? You
Right.
build it into the software, right?
Not necessarily, no.
I mean, some of the other people that
Correct.
build apps and things
That's
like that.
exactly.
I gotcha.
In open source, especially in self-hosted platforms like Magento, for example. Same thing is this with WordPress.
Right.
There's a whole community of developers. The whole world deals with these stuff, and whoever wants to, in 10 years you might make your own extension. They're called extensions. In Magento, they usually refer to as extensions. Anybody could write their own extension, publish it on the Magento marketplace, and anybody could buy this extension. So any crazy functionality you could think of could be, it's a very good chance, if you're thinking about it, someone else is thinking about it. And then you could probably find it on the Magento marketplace. Or just Google it. How do I do this in Magento? And you'll find somebody who made an extension that can do that. So if you have a certain functionality need, you could probably get it. And you can just buy the extension. The extension, costs $100, $200, not so much money. And then either you install, you have your developer install it, and you're good. Whereas in the hosted version, you can't get that functionality that you want. It's impossible. Sometimes, like Volution, they do offer like customization services. But if you're, first of all, they're not going to do everything for you, and even what they do, they'll charge you a lot of money. Volution, it's an enterprise company. You want to hire their developer to make some crazy functionality for you. Okay, $500 an hour, we'll make it for you. Whereas if you're in Magento and you want to create some crazy functionality, so your developer will charge you $75 an hour, $100 an hour, depending on what the rates are. But it's not going to be so expensive. Okay, that's features, flexibility, customization.
Developers create their own things, or they have access to the apps you have?
So both. Developers create their own, and so for Magento Store, you want to do Magento Store, for example, but you don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of installation, especially because the templates can be hard to install and all that kind of stuff. So you're going to have a developer do it for you. The developer's not paying for for Magento itself. That's free. Anybody can download Magento. They're just going to do the installation for you. They'll do the configurations for you. They'll train you. You don't want to sit there Googling and finding YouTube videos on how to use Magento or finding all the documentation. So you're going to have, they'll train you, some places at least. And if you need an extension.
You're a developer?
Yes. I'm not actually a developer, but...
So you train people if they...
For Magento, I train, yeah. Okay, so...
You have finish cards?
I have pens over there. Don't forget, when you're done, take a pen.
And once it's up and running on the Magento,
Yeah.
after the developer set it up, how much more do you have to keep on? Just to, like if you want to change different things, you have to, every time you have to go back to the developer that you can erase it?
No, it's usually it runs on its own. I mean, if there's ever an upgrade, update to the software, you're going to have to, if you want to upgrade, you don't have to get an upgrade. But you don't, the point is you don't have to have a developer. You could just once it's up, you're good,
Once
you're
it's
good.
up, you're
Yeah. What else do I do? So I do WordPress sites, eCommerce, Magento, Shopify, all these kind of stuff. I mean, the company at large does that's the department I work in. That's what we do. But the company at large does like custom software from scratch, like custom CRMs, like custom software that will help you manage your business. Like from ground up, we build it. So, and apps, like if you have an iPhone or an Android, you want an app, somebody has to make that app. So we make apps. But I'm in the e-commerce and web department, so I do that. Anyways, what were we talking about? Okay, next step is user-friendly. A hosted platform is usually more user-friendly than a self-hosted platform. That's just the nature of the business. If it's a hosted platform where it's a commercial product, they're charging you for it, they are trying to sell you their product. They're going to make it as user-friendly as possible. And they're going to charge you $30 a month, whatever it is. So it's usually much more user-friendly. Whereas the open source, the open source is a whole complicated thing. Why is there, to begin with, why b'chlal they're open source? So who's doing it for free? If you were to develop Magento from ground up, it would cost you probably $1 million in developing. If you wanted to code up Magento from scratch. It's a tremendous amount of chachma and time that goes into it. So obviously they're not going to be as user-friendly because they're open source. There are obviously some paid platforms that are self-hosted, but I'm not going to get into that for now. And those probably also have a higher learning curve. Okay, next thing we'll touch quickly, upgrades and reliability. If you have a hosted platform like Shopify, Volution, whatever, they take care of they're very reliable, they take care of all the upgrades for you, all new features, it's all rolled out automatically. If they have their developers working on a new feature, they do alpha, beta testing, they test it for a long time, everything works perfect, no bugs, and they roll out the new upgrade on a few websites, and then if everything's fine, they roll it out on, everyone gets updated, and boom, the new features are there in your back end. Whereas if it's a self-hosted platform and there's an upgrade, for example, recently Magento released a new upgrade. They released the previous one was 1.7.02, And then they released a new upgrade 1.8. And then they released another one, 1.8.1, because once they released 1.8, there was just a few bugs they found. Well, after they released it, they released 1.8.1. And even after 1.8.1, I found another bug today that I had to deal with, and I had to get another little thing installed, another patch. But the point is that the upgrades, you have to install the new upgrades now. You have to do that on your own, or a developer does it for you. So that's something to keep in mind. And also, so that's as far as upgrades are concerned. And reliability boils down to you. If you bought a junky Bluehost $5 a month and put a Magento on there, it will work. It will work slowly. But if Bluehost goes down or HostGator goes down, whatever, then you're down. But if you get a very good server with load balancers and multiple redundancies and whatever, then you're more reliable. But the point is, reliability is your achrayus in self-hosted, because it's self-hosted. Third-party integration. That's the last thing here in this comparison. We touched on this before. Basically, with hosted, if you want to integrate with, let's say, QuickBooks, or whatever you want to integrate with, you only have what they have, what they have approved, with the available apps. Like if we go to Shopify right now, let's see, features. I'm pretty sure we could see their apps straight up. Plugins. Okay, see here's the Shopify App Store. Email marketing from MailChimp. QuickBooks accounting. You want to import your orders from different stores. You want to have all these different kinds of apps. Facebook, Amazon, all these different kinds of apps you want to have with your store. So whatever Shopify put on the marketplace, that you have. Whatever they didn't put on, you don't have. And end of story. Nothing to do about that. Whereas if you're doing Magento, your developer can integrate with anything in the world because they're making it. You have access to the source code. They can develop and customize anything they want and integrate it with anything they want to. So if there wasn't QuickBooks integration with Magento, your developer could do that for you. Whereas with the hosted platform, you can't make those kind of changes. Okay, so now I'll just touch quickly on open source for a second. We mentioned this before. Open source means that I should say most self-hosted platforms are open source. And if you're self-hosting, you're not doing hosting. You're not doing a subscription, a monthly thing like Shopify or Delusion. You're doing it yourself, your self way, self-hosted. So most of those platforms are open source, meaning it's free. Anybody could go and download the software, install it on a server, you're good to go. So just some of the main pointers are that it's free to download, it's free to change it, it's free to share it, the source code is included, meaning not only is it free to download, they didn't encrypt it and hash the code. The code is right there for you to see. You can go into the code and see what the code says, and change the code if you want to. You're allowed to modify it and redistribute it. Basically, open source is a license. There's a standardized license, international license, called the GPL license or something, General Public License for open source. In order for your software to be classified as open source, it has to follow certain guidelines, and then you can classify it as open source. And like we said before, some companies, that's their business model. Their business model is that they offer a free open source platform, because now everybody will flock to them, and then they have a paid version which has some more features. So that's open source. And some examples, like we discussed, are the Magento Community Edition. Again, the Enterprise Edition has a $25,000 license, but the Community Edition is free. OS Commerce is another open source platform. OS is open source. OpenCart, PrestaShop, VirtuMart. What do we have here? I missed it. ZenCart, CubeCart, these are all open source platforms. Okay. So, anybody have any questions? Because we pretty much covered platforms, hosted, self-hosted. I'm going to go into the next step, going into... I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. This last paper, I added that just now. Yeah, just before. I just have an addition. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll go back up. I can email it to you. How are you going to email it?
The PCS.
Okay, I'll email the PCS. Somebody will tell me the email address when we're done. Okay, so we're going to move on to actually managing a back end of a Magento store. And the reason I'm going to do that is because being that we're talking about e-commerce and e-commerce platforms, Magento is the most popular e-commerce platform, self-hosted e-commerce platform in the world, with over 200,000 stores built on Magento. Some popular ones, I think Nike just recently changed, but Nike was built on Magento. Tom's, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Tom's shoe company. They sell shoes. They're built on Magento. Fiji Water, I think Samsung has one of their stores built on Magento. It's a very, very popular platform. And if you're going to be launching an e-commerce store, very, very possible you will be using Magento. So I'm going to run through a quick training for free, how to use Magento Store. Okay. So Chaperein.
We paid for this.
Oh, you paid for it. Ah, okay, it's not free. Okay. At least you're not being charged $75 an hour. Okay, now let me log in over here. Okay, before we do that, let me go to this is a demo store. This is ecommerce.oneononedevelopment.com. You can go home and check it out later. I keep this up. It's a demo store that very simply I just installed Magento. They actually have a dummy data feed that you can, during the installation process, you add this data feed, and it includes like a lot of dummy products into the installation. So now it looks like a real store. So you come to your store, you have your logo on top of here. Obviously that's not going to be your logo. You have your basic information, your account, your checkout, all that. The main thing is your catalog. Let's go to your catalog and let's check out the cell phones. This one takes a little bit of time to load. Okay, so here's the product. I want a Samsung Galaxy S4. That's not a picture of an S4, but that's what it says. I can add it to cart. And then I could check out, proceed to check out, and run through the whole process. We could actually make a test order right now, just for fun. We'll do that. I'm going to enter my account information here. Whoops. See if I got in. Okay, that's my address. I'm going to do the flat rate, $20 shipping. I'm going to do a check or money order. Let them run after me. And I'm going to place the order. Wow, this is a big order. $1,800. Boom. I made an order. Mazel tov. Now, this is a dummy store, so no one's shipping this to me. Right? Okay. We discussed that. Now, we're going to go into the back end and see how this store works. I just got an email that I made the order. Mazel tov. Okay, so now here's our back end.
How do you get into the back end?
Okay, so since this is self-hosted, or even if it's not self-hosted, usually the back end is the name of your store / some like other administration name. So in this case, it's the name of my store is ecommerce.101development.com. That's the name of the domain name at least. So the admin is the back end. If you look over here, it's index.php. You could ignore the index for a second. If you take that index out, it still should work. And basically, the admin, that's how you get to the back end. That's just the name. But when you're setting up the store, you could change it to anything. I usually don't do admin. Usually when I'm making a store, I make it the customer's last name or something, because if you make it the admin, now the whole world, everyone, any hacker could just go to the store / admin, and they'll find your back end right away. And then they can sit there all day trying to get into your back end. So if they can't find it to begin with, it just makes it a little bit more secure. But that's that. So now we're in the back end. So we could go quickly to orders. And we see that Zvi Arnstein just made an order for $1,700 at 8:51. Okay, so we got the order information over here, and the customer was notified, and we want to ship this order. So we click ship. Here
This is once the site is made already, right?
Once the site is made, yeah. Once the site is made, like again, we said either you have a one script installer or your developer installed it for you.
You have to manually ship it? It's not automatic?
So there are so in Magento, well, you have to obviously print the label and do all that kind of stuff. So well, in Magento, there are extensions that will automatically print the label for you. By default, in Magento, yeah, it's not gonna, just because an order came in, it doesn't automatically create a label for it. That's your question. But there are extensions you can install that will create either a FedEx label, UPS label, DHL, whatever you set up, and it already pulled the product. If you entered your product data correctly, you have the weight and the shipping address and all that. So the price is already pre-configured. You know, when the customer made the order, they saw already that ground shipping is going to be $46 because this item weighs 100 pounds, whatever. And then it automatically prints the label.
Would you recommend someone with limited knowledge start this on his own as a developer?
If you're limited knowledge, Magento, no, definitely not. Yeah, I mean, if you're good with Google, you can learn anything in the world. You can become a psychologist from Google. But if you're basic, and you'll spend a lot of time, and you get stuck, like, you'll probably get stuck, you know, whatever.
What would you suggest to someone starting out?
Someone starting out, so either call me, Stacey, but if you're not calling me, you're trying to save money, then go with a hosted platform. If you have very minimal initial investment capital, you're not spending a lot of money in the beginning. If you're going for gold, you want to become the next Amazon.com, not Amazon obviously. You want to become the next whatever, I don't know. Well, it's an example of a good store, a famous store, Macy's.com, Yeshiva World. You want to become Macy's.com. So then you're not going to go to Shopify and make a whole store, then a year later have to go to Magento because Shopify's not working for you. So again, you want to know what I would do? Either I would have a developer do Magento for me, or I would do, if I don't have such big plans and big goals, or I don't have the capital to make the big initial investment, yeah, go with Shopify. You'll have a good store, it'll work, and you'll...
What's the average cost? I'm not asking what you charge, but like what's the ballpark?
For a Magento store?
Yeah.
The ballpark is between $3,000 to $5,000.
From beginning to end?
From beginning to end, yeah. That obviously depends on what you need. Everyone's different.
Upkeep after, like, because you constantly need someone, right?
So training, we'll talk on the phone later. Thanks.
Why wouldn't you just be able to start, let's say, build a brand new Magento site?
Yeah.
And when it's finished, point your address.
You can do that.
But yeah, but it's not as complicated as actually transferring.
No, meaning what? You mean building?
Let's say you start off on WordPress.
Yeah.
Small. Now you're big and you want Magento.
Right.
So you could build from scratch with Magento.
Correct.
Pay the money which you didn't pay until now. And
Right.
repoint and then.
Yeah. That's what you would do. That's what you have to do. But don't forget.
Why is that so complicated?
It just you had WordPress. Yeah.
Actually starting from.
So you had a WordPress site that was doing e-commerce. Now you want a Magento site doing e-commerce. All your product data got to somehow go from WordPress into Magento. You have 1,000 products.
You're paying a developer to build it, which
Spending money on development.
Yeah. Say that. Yeah, you can totally do that. Yeah. You can do that. You can start with WordPress e-commerce and then start from scratch again. Exactly.
And you want to spend money regardless.
You might charge you more. WordPress, even a beginner.
Yeah, but you had a year of working.
Is it very expensive to transfer from let's say Shopify to Magento?
Is it very expensive to transfer? In a way, it may be even easier. Your question is that why in the world would you ever start with Magento? You're saying just always start with Shopify
Or
WordPress, whatever, even simpler. And then when it comes time to building a store, when you're building it for real, then you'll just export the data. That's in a way it's cheaper because once you have your store set up already, you know your products. A lot of it you don't even know what you're getting yourself into when you're making a store. Like I don't know what my products. I don't know what like every product has maybe 30 pieces of information. I need a SKU. I need a price. I need a description. I need a short description. I need dimensions and whatever. There's a lot of pictures, a lot of information that goes into each product. So once you have a store set up and all that's worked out already, now you just want to create it in Magento. So in a way, it's easier, it's faster because your developer doesn't have to be made crazy. He knows already what you want, and then he can just transfer over. But then again, it's for you the heartache. Like if you're really serious, you're going big time. You're going to create a store in WordPress, and like building a house. Let me build a house now, small little house, and then in 5 years I'll build another house. But if you know you're going to the big house, just go to the big house, Okay, but in a way, depending, everyone's different situation, obviously. Huh?
It's doable.
It's totally doable. In a way, it's cheaper, like we just said. It's easier. Yeah. Considering you don't cancel your Shopify plan before you finish start your Magento store, because then you lost everything. But because Shopify will export all your data into Excel file, all your product data will be exported into Excel file, and you just import that. It obviously needs some work, but you import that into Magento. You have to make a new design for the Magento store, obviously, whatever, that kind of thing.
WordPress, a real beginner can do website.
A real beginner, probably not. Yeah, if you have to be someone decent with the computer. Yeah, you have to be.
WordPress is for e-commerce.
Right, WordPress not for e-commerce. If you get the WooCommerce plugin, let's say.
Right.
Yeah.
Magento.
I'm sorry.
Magento. You're saying WordPress?
No.
I mean, not Magento.
WooCommerce is a plugin that goes into WordPress that makes WordPress into e-commerce. WooCommerce is free. WOO. WooCommerce. Okay.
What is an average e-commerce site cost about?
So it's about $3,000 to $5,000. Magento, yeah, but everyone has different needs, and like no two stores are the same. Firstly, the product, one guy's selling 100 products, one guy's selling 20,000 products. One guy is very focused on SEO and uses all these different kinds of data exports, and one guy needs this funny functionality. You know, everyone has a different need, so it really depends. If it's very straightforward, then like I said, it's, that's what it is. Where are we up to here? Okay, so we want to continue with this administering a Magento store? I guess so. Okay, so you're shipping, you have an order, you want to ship it. So you took the package off the shelf, you put it on the scale, it weighs 5 pounds, you printed a label, you put it on the box. You have a tracking number, you take the tracking number and you stick it in over here. Title, you put in UPS tracking, you enter the tracking number, whatever it is, 1ZX, whatever, and then you click submit shipment. And then you'll have submitted a shipment, and you checked off email customer. The customer will get an email about that shipment.
Who creates the tracking number?
UPS. Yeah. If you have the extension, that will automatically create. Yeah, the tracking numbers are always generated by the shipper, like FedEx or UPS. They always generate the tracking number. The question is if it's going to be manually entered by you, or if it's going to be or it's going to automatically be pulled into your back end. And then you invoice it. You invoice it. Basically, it closes the order. Now it's complete. You invoiced it. The customer got an email. UPS came, picked it up. You're done. Okay. Now that's basically made an order, and that's the life cycle of an order. On the front end, the customer made an order.
What do you see outstanding credit card charges? How do they?
So that happens automatically. In order to be PCI compliant, nothing shows up in Magento. Just the last 4 digits. Basically, your gateway, however you're using to charge a credit card, authorized.net is a very popular gateway. PayPal could be used as a gateway. However you're paying, they send you confirmation separately. Correct.
How do you add that as a gateway? How do you add it?
So in Magento, there's a way to do that. I'll show you. Magento is very powerful. Out of the box comes with all these different kinds of gateways. Payment methods right here. You go to system configuration on the top. I'll scroll back up so you see. There's system. I don't know if you guys remember this, but the system configuration, and in here is all different kinds of gateways you could have. So it comes by default with PayPal. PayPal has all different kinds of gateways they have and payment methods. And then there's saved credit card. Nobody uses that. And then there's authorized.net. This is okay. There's bank transfer, cash on delivery. Authorized.net is the most popular. You can install other gateways if you want. If you need other gateways, but authorized.net is the most popular. It's for sure the most popular gateway in the world.
Saved credit card means that you save the person's credit card on your.
Yeah, basically that method is that it doesn't actually charge the card. It just gives you the last 4 of the credit card, and you have the credit card yourself in your file somewhere. You already have the credit card, so when they
you have to manually
key the transaction. Yeah. Okay, that basically, so you wanted to know how to how to do the gateway. Very simple. You go to authorized.net section of your Magento backend. You click enabled, make it yes, and you enter your API login and your transaction key, which you get from authorized.net when you create an account. And you click save, and now boom, all your charges get sent to the authorized.net gateway. And as soon as the customer makes a purchase, the credit card is charged or authorized, depending how you set it up. And boom, you get money in the bank. So that's usually not going to be doing this. If you're doing Magento by yourself, then yeah, you'll have to know this. But then you can just Google that. How do I do authorized.net in Magento?
Why wouldn't you be doing it? Because you have some doing it?
Usually, yeah, that part. If you're managing your Magento store yourself, the part that you be managing yourself most commonly is the products, the categories. Let's say if you have an About Us page and the Contact Us page, those kind of stuff that are day-to-day kind of stuff that you're gonna spend the time and you're gonna get practice with, you'll know how to do. But that kind of thing, you're doing it one time, and that's it. Usually, you're doing it one time, and that's it. You're done. So, I don't know if you remember it, where it is. Okay, so now let's talk about the main thing of a store, which is the catalog and the products. So you go to catalog, manage products. Going out of order here, but same idea. Okay, I'll first show you a product that exists already. Catalog, manage products. This is a list of all my products in my store on this page. By default, it's showing 20 per page. I'm going to want to see 200 per page. The page is going to reload now with all 121 products I have in my store showing right here. Okay, so here's all my products. Now you see there's a product ID, there's the name, there's a type of product it is. We'll get to that in a second. There is the attribute set name. I don't know if we'll cover that. There's the SKU, price, quantity, how many do I have in stock right now, where it's visible, status, and whatever, websites. We should. As soon as the sale happens, it'll get shipped. I think when it gets shipped. Good question. I have to check that. But either way, Magento manages the inventory for you. That's a setting. You could tell it to manage inventory or not manage inventory. And then it updates the quantity. And if it's integrated with QuickBooks, then it'll tell QuickBooks also. Okay, so here we have a Magento.
How do you integrate it with QuickBooks? Is there an option there?
No, so by default, Magento has no way to integrate with QuickBooks. And it's a little bit complicated because QuickBooks, I don't think there's any way to integrate it with QuickBooks online. I don't think Magento, could be there is, not that I know of offhand, you can Google it. But with QuickBooks installed on your computer, so there is our integration. A couple of companies do this integration options for integrating QuickBooks, on your computer with your website. But keep in mind, your website is running on a web server somewhere, different computer. QuickBooks is running on your local computer. So to get the two to integrate, it takes a little bit of work. It's not just like a quick one. A lot of extensions that you install in Magento are very simple. You install them and they work, and they're very simple. QuickBooks is a little bit more complicated, just heads up. Okay, so V. Altman. Okay, so we'll go a little bit into different product types. There are a bunch of different types of products in Magento. In any store, any e-commerce platform has many different kinds of product types because there are many different kinds of product types that you might be selling. There are, if you look over here, type, there are simple product, grouped product, configurable product, virtual product, bundled product, and downloadable product. I'm not going to go all of these right now, but a simple product is Kishmoi Kenu. You have a cell phone. Doesn't come in different sizes usually. It's a simple product. It's not changing. And you just create a simple product, and the customer buys it, and that's it, end of story. A configurable product is different because the configurable product has configurations. It's a shoe or a t-shirt. It comes in different sizes and different colors. So technically, you take a simple product in Magento and just add a custom option. You just add a little drop-down that the customer could select red shoe with size 9. That you could do that. Take a simple product and just add a custom option to it. The problem with that is that then you can't manage quantity, inventory. If you have only 5 blues in stock and 1 red shoe in stock, if it's just a little drop down, it's not actually a separate product, so then you can't really manage inventory that way. So that's where you need it to do a configurable product. Configurable product is a parent product with all.
Product?
I'm sorry?
What's a group product in there?
A group product we'll get to in a second. Let's first do simple and configurable. A configurable product is a parent product with, let's say, 10 different configurations. There are simple products that are associated to it. So, if you have shoes that come in 3 sizes and 3 colors, so you have 9 products. So you have 9 simple products, which is like the blue in size 1, size 2, and size 3, the red in size 1, size 2, and size 3, and again in the green in size 1, size 2, and size 3. Each of those are separate products. The blue size 1, the blue size 2, the blue size 3, like that. You then have to associate all those products to the parent configurable product. And now when the user comes to the front end, they can select what size and what color they want. And when they do that, what they're actually doing is they're choosing a particular product, a particular simple product in your backend. And the model of this, doing this way, is that now it controls the stock, because each product is its own product. So somebody comes to me and says, yeah, I want to make a store. How many products? Yeah, 10 products. And does it come in different sizes? It says, yeah, it comes in 10 sizes and 40 colors. Oh, we have 400 products. You don't have 10 products. So you have to keep in mind that when making a store, especially if you're managing inventory, then each color and each size can be its own product. Fine, that is simple. Group product. I found this with collections sometimes. Let's say you have, let's say you're selling China, and you have collections. So you have Noritake China, and you have plates, cups, and bowls, and I don't know, forks and knives, and whatever. All part of a certain collection. Now you want the user to come to that page and see all those stuff in the same collection because it all matches. And then they can just select the quantity of how much each one they want. They want two bowls, 1 cup, and 4 plates. They can select the quantity, they can type in the quantity of each item that they want, and then they add to cart, and all those products that they chose get added to cart in one shot. So again, these are just simple products, same thing as before, but in here they're not choosing one, they're choosing all in one shot. Because that's the nature of the product. That's not a shoe where you just want one size and one color. It's a group of stuff, you want the whole collection. That's a group product. A virtual product is a virtual product, but I can get into that for now. Downloadable product and bundle product won't get into it either, but downloadable probably more familiar and more commonly used. If you go to mostlymusic.com and you want to buy MBD, you want to buy Yesh Tikva from, what's his name, Benny Friedman, so you're not buying something that's being shipped to you, you're buying just that song, and you're downloading it right away as an MP3 file to your computers. That's a downloadable product. Magento handles that also. So mostlymusic.com is built on Magento, that's why I mentioned it. Okay, anyways, where are we up to here?
Why would you check your inventory based on that? Like, you know how much of each thing you have, right? And you see what's sold, and that's it.
What do you mean? Right, but
why are you doing this? You want to see what's left in your inventory, right?
Why are you doing what? Why are you making simple configurable?
Back end to see what's left in your inventory, right?
Right. But
he's setting up what they're going to see.
No, this is not that.
This is
this was done. The website is set up. Now you want to manage it. You want to see what's left in the inventory, right? You're not setting.
Well, this does both. This screen is looking at all the products you currently have.
Okay. And so you do set it up this way.
Yeah, this had to be set up originally. Yeah. I'm sorry. These products that are appearing didn't magically appear. Every product that's going to appear in your store has to be entered into your store, and it's a big pain in the neck to get products into your store. It takes hours of work. You just keep that in mind.
The edit over there is to edit your main website.
To edit.
Right?
To edit the edit buttons you see here.
Yeah.
These are to edit products in your store. Actually, edit products. Let me show you. This is managing the store, yeah. Okay, let's do one product quickly. Okay, you have a Samsung Galaxy S4, and you want to change the name because in a few months, whatever, they're going to come out of that Galaxy S5. So I want to change it to Galaxy S5. I just do S5, and I click Save and Continue Edit because I want to stay on this page. I don't want to close this page out. So I click Save and Continue Edit. And go back to my front end. I click F5 to reload the page. And now it's a Galaxy S5 suddenly. So that's how you manage products in your store. Everything about the product is controlled by you, the owner of the store. So that is how to change stuff on a product. So we'll run through quickly the information about a single product. There's a lot of information on that a lot of data for every single product. It's up to you how much data you want to put in, but there's a lot of available data to put in. So you come to this product, the Samsung Galaxy S5. You have a name. Model number is a made-up thing. The way this store was set up, that's something called a model number. There's a SKU, there's weight, there's the manufacturer, the status, is this product enabled or disabled? If I make it disabled, it disappears from the front end. Is it taxable? Is it visibility? Sometimes you want it to be visible in the catalog. Most of the time you want it to be visible in the catalog. Sometimes no. You're not selling this thing in the catalog. If somebody searches for it, then you'll sell it. So that's catalog and search, which is the most common. That most of the time you want it on catalog and search. Anyways, prices, here you're going to have multiple data fields for your prices. There's the price field, which is your price. Group prices, let's say you have wholesale and other kinds of customers. You could create groups and have different prices for different groups. We could get into that at a different time, but that's group price. Cost, if you want to have a cost. The cost is $500, you put your cost in over there. Special price, if it goes on sale, it's a special. So now, instead of being $750, it's $700. You'll put in $700. And then let's say the sale is only from today until tomorrow. So you'll enter a special price from date. You'll say it's from today until, choose a date picker, until tomorrow. Okay, is product available for purchase with Google Checkout? You know what, we're not going to go through all these because it's too complicated, there's too many of them. But we'll do it with the main ones. So the main ones are so far the name, the SKU is important, and the the status. I'm sorry. You see on the left side, there's like 15 tabs. And for one product, there's 15 tabs. Each tab has like 10 data fields. So that's 150 data fields for one product. So that's just this way the store is set up, but you don't have to have that. What I'm saying is you can have a lot of data on any product. Anyway, so the main stuff again are name, SKU, status. Next thing, price. You have to have a price. Meta descriptions for SEO. You don't have to worry about that now. Descriptions, you don't have to worry about. Images is important. You want to have an image for your product. All this we'll ignore. Inventory is important. You want Magento to manage a stock? Yes, it's in stock, and the quantity is 9. There's 9 left. Websites we'll ignore. Categories. Categories is important also. Right now this appears in the cell phone category because it's a cell phone. If I click off furniture, and I click save and continue edit, and then I go to my front end, obviously it's going to appear. Now I suddenly have the Samsung Galaxy S5 in the furniture tab because we chose the furniture category. Okay, I touched before on custom options. Custom options are a way for you to add, let's say, size, and then you want this to be a drop down that the customer could pick from a predefined list. And it's going to be a size 1 or a size 2. And then basically on the front end, suddenly this product will have different sizes. But again, if somebody orders a size 2 and they place an order, it's not updating your stock at all because it's a simple product. You can't manage stock.
WordPress with the plugin is much simpler to manage?
WordPress with the plugin is simpler but more limited. Correct. Right. Let's say you have a cell phone, so you want to have a thing called cell phone model. In WordPress, you may not be able to do that. There's no place for you to make. I should show you this right now. Okay. Yeah, I guess I should show a quick thing on this. All these tabs over here are determined by you. You make this up. All the fields in the general, you see this model, SKU, weight. You make that up. You decide if that field should show up there. And those are called attributes. Attributes is something about that defines a product. So in the catalog, you go to attributes and you go to manage attributes. I'm opening this in a new tab, and you see here this store has 67 attributes. So if I take this cost attribute, for example, which is a made-up thing, somebody decided to have a cost attribute, and I can't delete. I don't want to delete it, but basically, because there's a cost attribute here, let's say, so you understand how this works. I'm going to change the name from cost to just to keep things simple. I'm going to make it called cost, just so you understand. I'm changing the name. This is the name of the attribute. Now I go back to here, and I reload this page. Prices, cost. You decide what the fields are called and which fields to have. It's up to you. The only thing you need really is a name, a picture. You could get by with the bare minimum like that, But the mila of a powerful platform is that it's unlimited flexibility and scalability. You can do what you want with it. Whereas in a limited platform, you can't. Then again, it's easier to use. You have to know where you're up to and help make a decision where you want to go. I'm not saying anybody here should use Magento. I'm just saying the miles of designs.
The hosted one has most of these features too?
So a hosted one has a little bit of the attribute features, not as much as Magento has. Depending which hosted platform you go with, it's complicated. Yeah, yeah. You want to quickly run to that? I know, but yeah, but we have to finish categories for a second. Let's do categories quickly. Okay, so. I'll tell you what it is. It's
yeah, no, 100%. But just ask. We asked him 10 times. Everyone asked him which one he recommended. So he has a store and I'm in Yeshiva.
Okay, I'll tell you what it is. Really, we can jump to Shopify now, but they all follow the same structure. All e-commerce stores follow the same structure.
I think what he means is if you can use Magento, you're getting someone to do it with you, because like you skipped a lot of categories and stuff. So something that's more hands-on, you want somebody who wants Shopify.
But this on Magento you're doing yourself regardless, right?
No, this you're doing yourself. No.
You're doing it yourself.
Yeah, this you're doing yourself.
Oh, okay.
The reason why I'm doing this is because I hope you guys are all successful, and if you are, you're probably a good portion we're doing a Magento store. That's the most popular e-commerce platform.
Yourself, okay.
What?
So this you're doing yourself.
This is managing your product data. Yeah. You can have your secretary in the office do it for you. You can have a data person do it for you. You can have your developer do it for you. You can have anybody do it for you, but you want to have a good handle on this. Because you're going to hire somebody, you have to train them how to do this. You want to have a good handle.
Is that much different than eBay managing it and Amazon?
All the same idea where you're managing your products. Yeah, it's all the same idea. Yeah, you have to know your store, and the main thing you have to know is your product. It's your product. You're selling them. You got to know them. And any changes or anything you're doing, there's a new picture, a new model. You have to update it. You have to know to do it yourself. You don't want to call the developer $75 an hour every time I want to change a product. It's ridiculous. You have to do it yourself.
Does the front end look better on Magento than on these stuff on the?
There's not front end. There's nothing to do with which platform you're using. It's all depending on which platform.
The same?
It could look the same. It could look exactly the same. Yes. Possible, yeah, we'll get into that. I mean, we won't get into that, but I mean, there are templates. You could buy a template for WordPress e-commerce. You could buy a template for Shopify e-commerce. You could buy a template for Magento e-commerce. You usually start with a template. If you have an in-house designer, or if you like a certain designer's work and you're making it from scratch, so then you're making the design from scratch with Photoshop. You're taking that design, you're converting it into a theme or a template for WordPress, for Shopify, for Magento. And then just the question, are you hiring a WordPress developer, a Magento developer, or a Shopify developer? So any design could be for anywhere. Okay. So now, categories is very important. We'll run through that quickly. So just to keep things simple, it shouldn't be so confusing. You made a Magento store. You want to manage your products. It's very simple. It's not so it looks very complicated. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But it's not so complicated because you go to your catalog, you go to manage products, and here are your products. You open your product, you edit whatever you need to do, the price, the picture, whatever, and you move on in life. It's not so crazy. Now, the categories, same thing, also very important. This is the kishkas of your store. Categories. You see on the front end, we have here, what do we have in the front end? We have furniture, electronics, apparel. Let's say tomorrow I decide I'm selling coffee on my electronics store. So I do coffee, and I name the product, the category coffee. Is active? Yes. Included in navigation? Yes. And I do save category. And then I go back to the front end and I refresh the page. And there's coffee right there. Click coffee. Oh, there's no coffee here. So let's make some coffee. So I go to category products, and I click any, because I want to see any product in my store right now to assign it to this product, to this thing. So let's do Samsung. It's a good cup of coffee. Oops, I didn't spell that right. Uh-oh. When you click backspace in the browser, it goes back to like where you were before. So let's go back to where we were before. Coffee, category products, and right here, Samsung Galaxy S5. And I click save category. Oops. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. Okay, again, category products. Let's click any. Samsung. Okay, the Galaxy S5. Save category. Go back to my front end. And here's my cup of coffee right here. So very simple. You could create categories and create products, and you're selling. Yalla, mazel tov. That's the main thing you're going to be doing in your store, creating products and categories, stuff like that. Let's look at my thing here. Okay, so we covered logging in, adding a category, creating a simple product, creating an attribute. We covered very quickly. Basically, you create an attribute called dimensions. By default, there's no dimensions attribute. You want to specify dimensions of every product in your store. So you create an attribute called dimensions, and now you're able to enter the dimensions of the product in the product details page. Next. Configurable, we did. Custom options, we did. Manage customers, let's skip that for now. Basically, you have the ability to manage customers. CMS pages. Very quickly, we'll touch on this because this you will probably use. Whoops, I just X'd out of the wrong tab. Recent tabs. Here. Let's move that back over where it needs to be. CMS pages. I want to change the About Us page. So on the front end, I'm going to go to the About Us page just so I know what it looks like. It's in the footer over here, About Us. And there's a lorem ipsum, the dummy text of the printing industry. And I want to change it from lorem ipsum dollar to lorem ipsum without the dollar. So again, CMS pages. Open the page. Yeah, I'm just doing this again in case anybody missed it. You click the About Us page. CMS, we had this before, is content management system. So in Magento, there's those separate sections, special for the content of Magento. Magento is not really a CMS because it's a store, but it's also a CMS because you are going to have static pages like About Us and Specials and whatever kind of pages you're going to have. So the CMS manages those pages. So your About Us page is in the CMS pages. The page title, then there's the URL key. You could call the page About Us, and the URL key could be Happy Purim. The URL key is what they'll get when they go to mystore.com / whatever the URL key is / Happy Purim. That's how they'll get to the About Us page. And the page title will be About Us. That's just what title and URL key is. But you don't have to know that now. Content. This is what I really want to see. It's very simple. So you went to the CMS pages. You open the About Us page. And you want to change the content here. So you see there's a little editor here. It looks like Microsoft Word. You could bold, italic, underline, change the font, the style, the font size, masha tarotze. And you just go to the dollar and you erase dollar. And because we don't want that showing up, right? And you click Save and Continue Edit. And then I go back to the front end and I refresh the page. And if you'll notice, when it refreshes, I didn't refresh it. The dollar is gone. The lorem ipsum. No dollar. So very simple. That's how you manage the content on your website. Similar to WordPress, same idea. This part is very simple. Is you manage content on your Magento store. Okay, what else do we want to cover with this? Okay, it would be nice if we had time for this. Magento has a very powerful import-export module that you can import products into the store from a CSV, which is a Excel file kind of thing. So basically you can have a spreadsheet with all your data. You have let's say 20, 30 columns in there. One of them is going to say like some of the main configuration of your store, but you can ignore that for now. The main columns you're going to have in there are your name, your SKU, your price, your picture, your image, where the image is located, and stuff like that. And once you have this file all set up, you'll save it and you'll import it into Magento. You'll upload it into Magento and you'll run the import script. The import script will take all that data out of your spreadsheet and boom, put it right into the store. So instead of manually entering every single product, save, and then new product, save, new product, talking about 20,000 products, which happens, people do have 20,000 products, so you have a spreadsheet which is 20,000 rows long. It's also a little bit complicated, obviously, and you'll run the import and all the products will magically appear, just like that. Okay, permissions user. This is a very geschmacka feature. A lot of other platforms have this, but it's obviously a standard, a basic feature. Magento has it very good. You could have many users on your store. You can have an administrator user that does everything in the store. You have a user that could only see products because your secretary is taking care of the data entry. You have a user that only sees orders. That person in your office is only taking care of the orders. You might have another user that's only dealing with the page content. In a big e-commerce company, it's for sure happening this way. You can have a data department, you can have an order department, and you can have a content department with SEO and everything like that. So there's different users and different different roles, permission levels. Okay, then there's okay, we're not going to go into that. Configuration of the store email address. Basically, you can set up, every platform is like this, that you can specify that when an order comes through, where the order should go to, where the email should go to. You want to get the customer should get an email notification about it, but you want yourself as the website administrator to also get an email notification about the order. So you can set that up in the back end. And we touched payment methods a little bit. You can set up different payment methods, PayPal, Authorize.net, different gateways. You just plug in the information you need to plug in, and that works. Shipping methods. You can put in, we'll run through this also just quickly, because why not? System configuration. And you go to your shipping methods, and you'll see here, out of the box is a bunch of different options. UPS, USPS, FedEx, DHL. You enter your credentials, and then the way it works is when a user's on the front end buying a pair of shoes, since you enter the shoes weighs a pound, and the customer entered that they live in California, it sends a request to UPS. UPS spits back a price, and we know that shipping is going to cost you $7. Now, there's a way to do it that there's a default pricing. That you don't have to, you don't have to have the information sent to UPS and come back. You can have default pricing. But if you have special pricing, if you're a power user and you have discounted rates, then you can have those rates show up on your site automatically. That's shipping methods. Okay, Google Analytics. You can add that too into your store, obviously, and that is that. Okay, basically, and the Shopify, I'm going to have time for that really, but basically it's a very similar idea as all the other, all the same features we have. It's called a collection instead of a category, and it's a little bit more complicated to add that collection into the menu. Actually, I should mention, you have to add a link. And same idea, you create products, and there's customers, and you can also do imports and exports. And that's pretty much it for now.
What's your name?